Good evening. Happy Monday to everybody out there. Going to mix it up a little bit tonight. We're going to be doing a live auction draft over at the NFFC. So, no underdog, no DraftKings. I thought I've done this will be my seventh auction so far. This is my second one with the NFFC, but I wanted to get one of these in before season kicks off next week. So, settle in. We'll be doing this for a little while here. Going to go be bouncing back between the auction board and then the actual draft room. So while we're doing that, we'll talk before we get settled in. We'll talk some Josh Jacobs news. The MarShawn Lloyd. Let's see how high he gets in drafts. I've got him already in my queue as a nominee to auction off to see how far he goes up in price. But we'll go through this. Talk through some player takes. We're still getting some roster movement with the roster cuts that finalized yesterday. So we got about 4 minutes here. We're going to kind of settle in, make sure all this stuff works. So if you haven't already, appreciate it if you hit the like and subscribe before we get kicked off, all that jazz, so I can shamelessly promote. And we will kick this draft off here shortly. So this should be a lot of fun. It's a lot different than I think what I know a lot of people, it's the time portion that they don't do with the auction drafts or why they don't. But if you do an auction draft, I promise you'll love it and you won't want to do anything else. It just makes snake drafts kind of minute. I mean, you're able to pick whatever players you want, and as long as you can budget correctly, you can build the teams however you want to. You don't have to worry about sniping or any of that stuff. As long as you got the money for it, you can play whatever way you want to do it. So should like I said, it should be a lot of fun. We got about 3 minutes here. I just want to make sure all this gets set up. If you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, you want me to go over your lineups, I will do my absolute best to go through that as we get through the auction. And if I'm looking down, it's just because I'm trying to do math as I add up my team. So for the NFFC, it's a one quarterback, two running backs, it's three wide receivers, a tight end, and then just one flex. So a little different from some of the other, I guess, ways that people draft. And then it's got the $150 buy-in, and then you end up playing against 12 others in your own league, and then there's a top prize like a playoff portion that ends up 15K to first place. So it should be a lot of fun. Like I said, we got a couple minutes here before this starts off, and then if you guys are listening and you hear any dinging or any of that stuff when this kicks off and you want me to mute that, let me know. Just make sure I don't miss anything. It's my first time streaming a live auction, so I'm just trying to make sure that I don't totally annihilate this. As far as annihilate the draft, I hope to do, but as far as the streaming portion of it, hope it goes off okay. So, like I said, if you guys got anything, drop it in the chat. I'd be happy to talk through some of it. But like I said, we're going to start here. So instead of showing you this blank board, once this starts filling up, I'll switch back and forth to make sure everybody kind of sees what everybody's building. Like I said, it's a $200 budget to start. Also has 10 bench spots. So, and everybody has to cost at least $1. That's the other part of it that, some people just try to go through. You gotta pay at least $1 for every player on the board. That's not like you can get guys for free here. So it's a lot of budget, you know, budget rostering, all that good stuff. Make sure that you have enough money. Make sure you don't kind of blow your load too quick when it comes to these auctions. Because I was in a auction last weekend in the Southern Bluegrass Fantasy Football Championships. Apparently, a new guy. He started Jameer Gibbs, Bijan Robinson. He had a couple friends like come over, and he also got a Emeka Ibuka, and they were all cheering about how great his team was. And he ended up with like Carson Beck as his starting quarterback. That's how bad the rest of his draft. He sat there for another 2 hours until everybody else was done, basically nominating until he can get $1 players because he didn't budget correctly at all, and it ended up being kind of a nightmare there. So just some stuff to look out for. Like I said, tonight I'll probably focus on wide receivers, but I would like to get a premium running back if I can, if the price is right. But we'll get here kicked off shortly. It looks like everybody here is in the building, all 12 of us. And then I'll be nominating out of the 6 hole, which it doesn't really matter too much as far as the start of it. We'll kind of figure out how, hot or cold this draft room ends up being. So going to kick this off shortly here. Like I said, if you guys have anything in the you could drop it in the chat. I'd be happy to take care of it as the auction goes along. And if I'm looking down, like I said, just because I'm trying to do some math, trying to budget the rest of my builds here. But we'll get this kicked off. Like I said, we'll go kind of flip back and forth and hope you guys enjoy. So kick off our first nomination here. We're gonna start the defense stuff already. So if you haven't done drafts, this is just a cheap way for people to kind of work their way in without actually having to feel the room. And this NFFC auctions go by real quick. So we're gonna kick things off. The AAV price for Jefferson is 43. I think it ends up being a little bit of a steal compared to what he normally goes. But we'll get, like I said, we'll get through this here, kind of settle in and kind of see where the chips fall. And we'll go back. And like I said, if you guys end up having any questions or anything's goofy on your screen or as far as uh, the sound or anything like that, I don't have anything on my end. So I think we're okay there. So Justin Jefferson just goes off the board there for $40. That seems like pretty fair price. There's the MarShawn Lloyd uh, bid there, so that didn't take very long. We'll see. I kind of predicted like $20 here for MarShawn Lloyd, but we'll see how far he ends up getting. Going to 8, 9. And then the other part of that is for Green Bay. You also don't know if they're going to end up bringing somebody in. If they end up bringing in, Kareem the Dream Hunt is still on the free agency list. There's a couple guys. Saw James Conner ended up going to IR, which kind of threw a wrench in, I think, some people's plans of trying to, you know, see if he ends up going somewhere else and kind of making out that way over there. But, it's pretty thin on the running back market. So we'll kind of see how this goes. But here goes Jamar Chase between him, Jahmyr Gibbs, and Bijan. These guys end up going pretty quick, and that didn't take very long. The guys over here and the guys and girls at NFFC, they really don't mess around. You're not going to sit here and get anybody through the cracks at a real cheap price. That I would definitely tell you that right here. So if you ever think that somebody's going for a real cheap price, it's just not happening. But I'll be nominating next after here. We get Texans defense. We're going to do the defense nonsense, of course. Very frustrating. But I'll be on the here to nominate somebody. Bid them for $2 or $3, and then we'll get this defense nonsense going through. So I'm gonna nominate Genty here. We'll start at 25 and kind of see where that goes. I did not mean to do. I hit the wrong thing. So that's a good start. There we go. Genty, he's at 37 right now. Goes 38, so we're not getting too much of a discount on him. Came out today that it seems like he's going to be playing week 1. I'll bid 39 here and see if anybody hits 40 on Genty. But it came out today. It seems like he's going to be okay for week 1. And if that's the case, he will end up being my first running back if nobody takes him. So I end up getting Genty for 39. That's I had it budgeted for 40, so I get Genty for $1 cheaper. That ends up being about fair price for Genty. So that's the board so far. Get Genty for 39. The 13 here for MarShawn Lloyd. Probably going to end up being a little bit of a deal. It seems like some people are a little bit scared off as far as I thought he'd be like $20 player the way he's been going in regular drafts. We'll wait for this next bid here. Goes Chargers kicker. This is not the fun part of the drafts that I've usually come to enjoy when it comes to this stuff. I usually wait for kicker and defense in the middle. Usually, if I need a break or if I need to figure some stuff out, they're just an easy way to nominate. And you're not getting an advantage or winning anything nominating kicker and defense way out the gate. So we got Achane here. Achane, as far as the prices here for auctions, he seems like he's been going pretty high still. It's not something that he's been, I thought we'd be getting a little bit of a discount, but he ends up kind of going with the rest of that range of, Chase Brown, Genty, those kind of guys. There's not a whole lot. $35. I thought he'd be more of like a $30 player. Get Hampton here. I got him for $33 in the auction I did this past weekend. So he's going to get steamed up there. We'll see if this Ashton Genty price at $39 ends up holding up to being a decent deal. Sometimes you'll see like James Cook or Chase Brown go up towards like $50, and then just kind of working through that way, see if that ends up doing okay there. And then he goes for 39, so about get a dollar more than what I paid for Genty. I'd rather prefer Genty, especially if he's okay health wise. Get Jameer Gibbs. So here's where the fun starts. This is where we'll get to. That didn't take long at all. 59. We'll see if Genty or Jameer Gibbs ends up going for $60 here, but just did not want to play at all. I want to look at this. So you got Jameer Gibbs here, and that'll be the first player for him. Get Rams defense. We're on this nonsense of defense. Sometimes drafts go like this. It seems like people just trying to dip their feet in the water. They don't actually want to bid and go to war and do all that stuff. They just kind of want to play around. And yeah, we're getting a bunch of this nonsense. This is not how you take advantage of a hot or cold room in an auction. I'll tell you that much right now. Some people like it, but it's not the way that I like playing it. Now that I keep complaining about it, we're just going to keep going through this entire run of it. So get everybody kind of acclimated, and I always wait for defense and kicker, like I said, towards the middle of my stuff, especially if for me, if I'm trying to get some, I guess, like try to take a break, or if I'm trying to get some time to figure some stuff out, if I'm trying to do some math, it's just easier to do that. It's not, I mean, unless you're going after Rams defense or Brandon Aubrey, everybody ends up being like $1 or $2. It's really not that big of a deal to kind of go off and do that. And it just compared to, especially if you get a hot or cold room in an auction to start, you want to take advantage of that. You want to do that with actual players, not, not let everybody get acclimated to the water and then you start bidding on the players. You actually want to throw people out there. So I'm going to see how the rest of these next two picks goes. I kind of wanted to do Javonte Williams and see if I can throw him. I don't want to say under the bus. It seems like his role just keeps getting solidified as far as they just got rid of Jaden Blue. They have got rid of Phil Moffitt. It seems like Malik Davis is going to be the backup. So Javonte's been a pretty good click this entire time. I was going to see if he ends up going kind of like, 20, maybe $25 to kind of slide him in there as my RB2, but we'll kind of see how the board goes here. But yeah, it's math is tough for me too, especially when you're starting to get really thin money wise, and I'm trying to count like every dollar counts, especially towards the end. I usually do stars or scrubs as far as my bench goes. It's going to be a quick nomination, so I'll be up next. But as far as like especially for bench, I do stars and scrubs, so most of my guys are $2-3, if that, maybe some $1 bids. But if you're somebody who pretty even killed and want like a well-rounded roster, your $8 to $10 really adds up, and you start pitching pennies, and that kind of stuff starts adding up. So I will do that. I will start him with $15 and kind of see where Javonte ends up going up. It says his AAV ends up being $24. I just kind of want to see if I can get this through. And this, we got people already. There we go. I got $24. Got to get them for 24. I feel like I'm about to get outbid. If I get Javonte for 24, yeah, that wasn't happening. See if somebody else bids. I don't want. There's other guys that I like. I thought that I would try to see if I can sneak Javonte through for a cheaper price. He ends up going. Not that I was going to be shopping at Dollar General for Javonte, but I just thought if I could get this room that's already started kicker and defense heavy. I mean, look at this nonsense. I just thought maybe I could pull out $20 where people are waiting to spend elsewhere. So, giving up Javonte for Allen. I have Pickens at Ibuka. My QB is Dart. I guess you're talking about Josh Allen. Let me see. Would you give up Devonta for Allen? I probably wouldn't, unless you can't play all three guys. But I think the difference between Allen and Dart isn't substantial enough to get rid of a wide receiver one in Devonta Smith, who should end up being a smash with AJ Brown gone as well. So I unless there was something else, or if you guys are like playing a bunch of flex spots, I don't think it's worth trading for like the quarterback. I just don't think it ends up being that much of an upgrade from Dart to Allen. I know it's better, but just as far as giving up an elite wide receiver for it, I just don't think you need to do it. So, speaking of auctions, this wide receiver cluster, the Zay Flowers, the Lad, all these guys end up going anywhere from like 25 to $35, kind of on the high end there. This ends up being a really nice spot, especially if you have the patience. I don't. Unfortunately, you can get some of these guys really good later on as far as that kind of stuff goes. So here goes Kayshawn Booty. We're going to get somebody try to fill some bench spots early. Nobody wants to play. Everybody wants to go like low totem pole stuff. When I come out of an auction, I always want to come out swinging. I always want to see if I can grab a deal early, or in auctions, if you want to be aggressive and just go get your guys early, as long as you're not overpaying for them. I'd rather do that than try to sneak through kicker and defense and then small bench spots. Sometimes if you have a player that, kind of like Josh Jacobs, if he wasn't on the exempt list, if people are kind of skittish through, you can kind of throw him through and see if, you end up getting a discount on them. So we'll see what CD Lamb goes for. This room isn't letting up any deals so far. Everybody's going pretty much at what their price point tells them to. I will say this: if you haven't done auctions before, don't be a slave to this AAV. This is basically like ADP for auctions. This really fluctuates with the draft too. If you've never done an auction before, it just makes it kind of hard to, you think you always got to pay up for this player and all that stuff. There's always deals that will be had. Sometimes you just got to be patient for them. But for a lot of people, they just think that, hey, this I've got to bid up to this player just because of what this number says. I mean, Puka for 51. I mean, in most auctions, he probably goes for 45 to 50. Like if you're doing a live auction, like the $60 for Bijan and Gibbs out of a $200 budget, a lot of the time just ends up kind of being. I just don't see it that way. I guess I don't see it in person. Sometimes online it happens that way, but like a normal standard budget, it's usually on the lower end than the higher end of some of these AAVs. So just something to keep thought about when you guys are doing auctions. So I'm going to flip this board here just for a second, kind of check out some of these. We'll have a nomination come up shortly. But Team 7 is already filling out their team. So many guys already have kicker and defense. It kind of drives me nuts, but it is what it is. But we got James Cook here going for 39. I kind of want to hit on him. Do I really want? Yeah, he's going to go for 30. He went for 41. James Cook off the board for 41. This guy's really just filling out his lineup here. We get James Cook and Jahmyr Gibbs out of the 10 hole. That's a pretty fun start. Javonte and MarShawn Lloyd for here. So get Matthew Golden. This is kind of a bench player that ends up being a nice spot for a couple bucks if you can make it through. We'll see how high he ends up going. I'll do $5 on Golden, and I'll kind of leave it at that. Yeah, I got money. I got to spend elsewhere, so I just don't want to keep going. That's the other thing with auctions. Sometimes you can get too cautious, and sometimes you can get overboard. It's really finding the sweet spot. I mean, just like anything, budgeting. If you got going to the store, you don't want to sit there and you don't get a line of credit in an auction. So when you run out of money, you just got no money to play with, and it just makes it pretty thin there. So I've got Genty so far for $39. We got A-Chan for 35, Hampton for 39, Gibbs and Cook for 59 and 39. So about in that range. We got Kyron on. I'm going to bid him, see if I can get him as my RB2. If we can get a little bit of a deal, I'll pay 20. I won't pay much else for Kyron. Maybe he can be a flex option for me. See if we get bid up here. Yep. Didn't take long. Yeah, so he goes. Some people just can't let this number go. It says $22. Some people just want to keep pushing. And then auctions, if you get comfortable enough, you can do that. As far as, if you got time and, roster space and stuff like that, especially early, some people just don't want to let a deal go. And sometimes if you can tell there's a tier break or if running backs are running thin, you'll have people who will just bid guys up just because they know that there's nobody else on the other side and you need one. This past weekend, I was going after Travis Achan, and he ended up going to $30. And I knew the guy that I was going against didn't really want him. He just wanted me not to have him, and he thought that I was going to keep bidding, and I basically caught him at $30. He goes, it's a little bit of an overspend, I guess you can say, for Achan. He ends up probably more of like a 24 through 30, kind of, or I shouldn't say 30, probably 23 to $25 in most auctions that I've seen. Probably getting a little more expensive with the injuries, but just you'll see that too. So let's see. Gonna see what this. Come on, we'll go. Here goes McCaffrey. I just get off the auto there. I thought I already had my nominee picked up, so there goes. Bijan goes for 56. Then we'll see how high McCaffrey ends up going for. I'm going to set up my queue with a couple more players here so I don't do that again. That was pretty stupid of me. Just wasn't paying, I shouldn't say I wasn't paying too much attention, but just with how all this kicker and defense nonsense, I just thought some of these guys would end up going through a little quicker. So don't really want Jeremiah Love. I got offered this long trade. I'm getting Genty, Chris Olave, and Golden, and giving up Garrett Wilson, Jonathan Brooks, Cardinal Tate, and Alec Pierce redraft. Yeah, I would definitely do that. As long, especially for Genty and Olave and Golden. I don't think Brooks ends up being much, and Cardinal Tate and Alec Pierce probably end up being flex guys or flyers. So if you got the back end space to make it happen, I definitely think that ends up being a worthy trade. Olave and Genty can kind of be hammers for your team. But Jeremiah Love, another guy who seems like he's going to be on pace for week 1. He's getting kind of pushed up here a little bit. Being much more patient than I normally am in these auction drafts. Love going up to $28. Damn, it's a little pricey. $29 for $30 for Jeremiah Love makes the Genty price not look so bad. Goes for 30. Whew, it's a lot of money. A lot of money. So right now I'm at $143. It would be like my max bid. So I'm at 161. Got one guy who hasn't, two people who haven't done anything outside of kickers yet. I'm gonna bid up on Chase Brown here, which Chase Brown's going way expensive. So I'm probably going to lean into the wide receivers and let all these guys. I've already got Genty. I can kind of fool around it since it's only 2 RBs and let some of these running backs just get kind of worked up a little bit. But this Chase price ends up being a pretty good one, $40 for Chase Brown. We get Trey Tucker. I will definitely take $2 on Trey Tucker. It's a great bench play here. Probably going to get bid up to 3. I'd be very surprised but I'll be damned. I get Trey Tucker. So $2 for Trey Tucker on my bench. I will gladly take that. We get JSN, so we'll have some fun here. Get some guys who are actually bidding up on JSN here. We're at 43. This ends up being one of the top end guys. He goes for usually 47 is what this says here. So $46 for JSN, 47. And we'll get a lot of the late nomination parts of it where, they'll wait till the very last second. Sometimes on these the software, I did a draft a couple weeks ago on MFL, and it just laggy as shit. And sometimes the bids actually don't go through. That ends up being kind of a nightmare for some people too. But yeah, so far for me, $2 Trey Tucker. It's a bench play. Ends up going to be the wide receiver 1 for the Raiders. Then I get Genty 2. It makes me look like I'm an actual Raiders fan, which I'm not. But we'll see how hard Taylor goes. I've seen some deals on Jonathan Taylor this year, and I've seen him go like sky high in price. So we'll be kind of curious to see where he ends up sitting. I mean, I'm surely somebody will hit 40 here. Yeah, he goes for at least 40. And then we'll kind of, it seems like this room's behaving. They're not outbidding each other past this AAV very far, like maybe a buck or two, but not some of these rooms. If you haven't done an auction before, sometimes it's pretty chill and sometimes it's just the absolute wild west as far as some of the wildness that you end up seeing in these rooms. But here goes Travis Achan. This is like I said, $22 for him. If he ends up being this cheap, I'm definitely interested in the Travis Achan experience here. So we'll see how far this goes up. I'll bid 21 for him. Go 22. Yeah, this room's not letting up as far as these prices go. 24. We'll see how high it gets. Like I said, it got up to 30 in the auction I did, the live auction I did last weekend. But it was also at the end of the tier. If you've ever done an auction before, another thing is a lot of this is tier based. So when you run out of a player, like the last running backs, Ramondre Stevenson, before you get into backup territory, it ends up getting pretty thin there. So just that's the other stuff. When you look at a board and you see, oh man, this guy went for a great price. Well, you kind of have to understand the time of the room, when the bid was, sent out and stuff like that. So appreciate you. Got the big dog from the other room tuning in, so happy to see you. But we'll be on the we got plenty of wide receivers to go through. See what Shepard does. KC Concepcion. This will be another. I'll bid $2. $3. We'll try $3 for KC Concepcion. 5. So yeah. This is the late to the party right before NFL kickoff. KC Concepcion ends up being this hot button player. Still plays for the Browns. Nothing has changed in the last, since April when he got drafted. Still plays for the Browns. Still got Deshaun Watson or Shador Sanders throwing on the ball. Still doesn't feel that great. So here we go. Saquon. This is another one who's definitely been getting through. This Riccio, man, this guy's active as hell. I'll bid 31 on. He goes for 32. Kind of want to do Barkley here. I'll bid it again. 33 for Barkley. See if I can get him and Genty paired together. And I do. So we got Barkley and Genty as double running back. Get him for 33. Spent $3 more than I wanted to for my RB2, but that's okay. Didn't. And I'll see if I can get Ramondre through, and then I'll be basically out of the running back competition here for a little bit. So Trey Tucker, Saquon, Ashton Genty. So those guys are going to be my hammers in my RB spot. And then I'm definitely going to have to make up a little bit as far as money goes. I'll probably punt quarterback like I always do. You can usually get a $1 or $2 quarterback. Nominate AJ Brown here. See how high he ends up going. Yeah, we got very aggressive here. I got some math I'm going to end up having to do here momentarily. AJ Brown. We got Nico Collins. We still got a plethora of wide receivers that I feel like I can just sit on, but $37 going to end up being a really nice deal for AJ Brown there. Nico Collins. This is going to start a little bit of the wide receiver run. I'd be happy to take Nico Collins as my. I'll bid on him. No, I don't. No, I don't. I'm going to wait. This is my patience starting to take place a little bit instead of trying to go crazy after everybody just because I feel like there's a good deal. But we get Gentry and Barkley to start with Trey Tucker for $2. Like I said, I think if Trey Tucker goes later in the draft, he ends up being like a $3 player when a lot of these teams have money to spend. The team 7 already here: MarShawn Lloyd, Javante, Amon Ra, and Matthew Golden. We get Bryce Young for $1. I mean, I'd rather have a bag of garbage for $1 than Bryce Young at this point, but he'll end up being the quarterback 2 for this team. Get Devonta Smith up here on the board. This will end up being a little bit of fun. See how far he ends up going. Damn. I'll bid on Devonta Smith, see if he ends up going for 28, and if not, there we go. I'm done with that because I don't want to pair him with Barkley, but just see if I can get another $1 out of. Don't let him go too cheap, but he's going to end up going. These wide receivers are going a little cheaper than probably what's been advertised. So, yeah, we get more kicker and defense. We're going to fill out kicker and defense before we end up getting to the second tier of running backs. But there's the draft board starting to fill up a little bit here. Like I said, I'll be going back and forth. If you guys want me to switch, just let me know. If this is working out, if you need me to move the myself down more to get the draft board bigger, let me know. I'd be happy to do that. Just let me know how I can accommodate while I'm trying to do all this on the fly. So our first quarterback or tight end, Trey McBride, going for 24. He goes for 25. That was pretty cheap. I'm curious to see if Brock Bowers comes behind him or if they're going to wait to do the nomination for Brock Bowers for a little while and see if he goes. Brock Bowers, guys like him and Trey McBride are not really in my auction budget this year. I have grabbed Tyler Warren when he goes cheap. I think I got him for like $14. I'll definitely be in on Parker Washington. He's going to get pretty expensive here too. He's going for 21. Like I said, this AAV just kind of pushes. He's definitely more than a $17 player. He probably, at this rate, the way that they've talked about him, probably go for like 24, 25, that kind of that range. But I'm going to see if I can sneak through a wide receiver, and doesn't necessarily have to be my wide receiver 1. I got a nomination coming up here shortly. I'm going to see if I can get a couple of these guys through. We get the big dog up, Derrick Henry. I've already got my running back, so I don't really want to partake of the Derrick Henry experience, but be happy for whoever else who does. So we're going to go back here, kind of go back and forth on this end. Get Colston Loveland. So we're going to get Brock Bowers on the back end of this. Now that Brock Bowers isn't gone, I expect Loveland to kind of get pushed up price-wise. I can see him going for like, in the right room, 24, $25. So he's already at 22, 23. We haven't even got to Bowers yet. Bowers ends up probably being a $30 to $35 player. It says 33 as far as his usual price goes. $25 for Loveland. It seems okay as far as this price point goes, but when you're trying to budget this in a 3 wide receiver build, it just ends up being really tough to kind of make it happen. Get Blake Corum. I'll take $2 on Blake Corum, but he ends up, we're getting pretty goofy with that already. $7, $8. I'll be nominating shortly. Bert's kind of filling up his lineup. Jeremiah Love, Rico Dowdle, JSN. Stribling will probably end up being a wide receiver 2 or 3 for Team 9 with Amari and Hampton, Chase Brown. That's a pretty fun start. I've got Gentry and Barkley to start a little bit cheaper than most times. I feel like you'd get it. McCaffrey goes for 42. There will be a break after round 10, and I'll stop and kind of go through some of these boards a little bit more. So just trying to go back and forth and make this work, make this pleasable for the audience out there. Definitely getting a couple more people starting to trickle in. So I appreciate you all hanging out tonight. Like I said, if you haven't already, make sure hit the like and subscribe. Helps feed the kids and the dogs and all that good stuff. And keep on auctioning. We'll be here for a little while. So if you guys have any auction questions, redraft, trades, want me to pray over your lineup, whatever we got to do, I'd be happy to do it. So get Drake London. He goes for 35. It seems like a lot of people are starting to get scared off on the 2 and on experience or Michael Penix. Also came out that he probably is not going to be playing a whole lot in the slot like he has in the past. That's where he's made a lot of his money. Uh, and I thought for a second that another strategy people do is just come out with like a pretty aggressive bid. He came out with $28, and I thought for a second he was going to land it. He gets Brock Bowers for $30. I'm going to see if I can get Burden here. Start at 15. It's a $26 player. I just want to see how expensive he ends up getting. I'll do 23. I'll bid again. I'm at 24 for Burden. See if this lasts. I kind of expect somebody to hit the button on him. But this, if for 3 wide receiver builds, this is kind of how I want to play it. I get $2 on. Hell yeah, let's go. I'll take it. So I get Burden for 24. I'm gonna see if I can play my cards right and get him at my wide receiver 3. We will see how that goes. We'll see the price on Bleak Neighbors is off the board or on the board now for $28. We'll see if he ends up getting a little cheaper. Somebody needs to hit that button. There we go. Thank God. This auction value, that's the average auction value, the AAV. This is probably coming off, the last couple months where nobody's been clicking him. Now that it's come out that he's going to be okay for week 1, that's probably where you're getting more of the pricing from compared to the last couple weeks where he's definitely been getting steamed up boards. See what Burt does here. Jalen Waddle. This kind of how I want to build my wide receiver rooms. See if I get Waddle for 23. See if this lands. 24. I didn't mean to do that. Here goes Waddle for still plenty of wide receivers. I probably should have hit bid on Waddle there, but it's all right. Still got some good ones. Got like Ladd. Whoops. Mecca Ibuka. So we're going to get this run of. I'll do Garrett Wilson for 23. See if I can fill out the wide receivers just of these $20 players. But it seems like these guys are going to go pretty high. So I'm going to see if I can break up the monotony on my next nomination and get away from the wide receivers. Come back, see if I can get a cheaper price on them. Yeah, that Waddle deal ends up being pretty nice for Garrett Wilson going where he's going. We still got plenty of wide receivers that we can kind of play through. There's the updated board as it's starting to fill in. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense to do it when it's empty, but you can kind of start seeing how some of these teams are playing out. Got a couple people blowing their load real early, and a couple people waiting. We've got a couple people at the back end, but for most of the part, everybody's kind of dabbled. At least got a player. Sometimes in these drafts, you get somebody who just ends up sitting and waiting until the middle rounds to kind of start going and getting their guys, and that just ends up being not a whole lot of fun. But we got Roma Dunze on the clock here. He's at 18 right now. Got a couple teams like Jamar Chase, Nico McCaffrey that ends up being pretty nice, but the back end of this draft's going to be pretty rough for him. And then let's see. Genty Barkley, Trey Tucker, and Luther Burden. Like I said, Trey Tucker will end up being a bench player for me for. Here we go. See if for $2, and then let's see if I can get Ladd through here for a cheaper price. I'll do 20. I'll stop at 25 for Ladd. Yeah, there's still a couple other guys that I'd rather have in this range, but wide receiver is kind of thinning out a little bit. Kind of want to show, Olave, Pickens, Rashee Rice, these kind of guys. Ladd's going to end up going at his normal price range here. And then Ladd, yeah, it usually goes for 29 or 30. That's the same thing that just happened again. Get Christian Watson. Definitely bid on him. See if I can get. He can end up being a flex play if anything. Somebody see we got people. There was Christian Watson going way up there. Christian Watson for 21, just $1 more. There's DeAndre Swift. This would be a great flex play as well. Here we go. I mean, DeAndre Swift at this point definitely should be like at least a $20 player. I'm going to see if somebody else will bid up since I already got Burden. I'd really like Montgomery on this team if I could pull it off. Brees Hall even. We get $18 for Swift ends up being honestly a hell of a deal. And we'll see if the rest of these running backs end up getting really expensive going forward. But he comes out with a pretty aggressive bid. Just kind of see if they can set the tone. See if I can get T. Higgins for like $24. Still don't. There's still a couple other guys to where I don't feel like I need to push it, but I think I'm going to end up getting T here. Yep. So I get T for $24. Him, Burden, kind of filling out pretty cheap. We get Jonathan Brooks. But I definitely need to start watching my spending here. So it's getting pretty thin. We got, this guy's already at $14. He's still got to get a tight end and a quarterback. And then he'll be playing like the dollar spending game here. But I got Genty, Barkley, Burden, Higgins, and then Trey Tucker. And then I've got $78 left. I'll start, seeing if I can get some of these cheaper guys through coming forward. Get Brees Hall. If I can get him cheap, that'd be great. Yeah, so somebody's set this price on Brees Hall to every time you hit it, it just keeps on going and going. I'm going to see if I can try to do some math here shortly. I've got $78 left. 9, 10, 11. 11 spots for the bench. 767. Not be confused with the 6-7. Keem Scatabo going off here. Let's see if I can pull. Let's see if I can pull Ramondre through at a pretty cheap price. Coming up here. Go Scatabo. Or I could kind of go back to tight end or try to do quarterback. I don't necessarily want to waste a nomination, but we'll do Josh Allen for 10. Yeah, and he's going to go up the board. That's kind of a pick where I'll let somebody else do it while I sit here and try to do some math. 67, and then I still got 1, 2, 3, 4. Still got 4 spots. There goes Josh Allen up the board. 5 by 4. So I got about $17 left for the last couple spots. Goes Olave. It's kind of the last little tier here as far as the big name wide receivers. A lot of these guys are going to end up going. Yeah. So people definitely feel the tier starting to close up, and Olave is going to definitely way outkick his coverage as far as this pricing goes. Yeah, 33. I wouldn't be surprised if he keeps going up a little bit. 34. We got Pickens, Rice, Ibuka kind of sitting here too, but for the rest of these guys, I mean, it just ends up got David Montgomery, running back starting to thin up pretty quickly here. I still am in need of another wide receiver, and I'll kind of play that as I go through. There's the board again. Got two of my wide receivers. I'd like to get one more. Got Herbert up for bid now. It's already at $3, so I'm going to see if I can just kind of nickel and dime the quarterback position. That's that and tight end too. I just don't feel like I need to spend a whole lot of money. Josh Allen goes for a lot. Lamar Jackson usually goes for like $10 to $12, and then the rest of them, if you just wait a little bit, you can kind of get some late round guys for pretty cheap. So Herbert for $4 ends up being a pretty nice deal, honestly, compared to some of the more aggressive rooms where you'll see him going for like $7 to $8. See, Bashal Tootin is up now. 13, so he's getting pretty pricey now. I'm going to see if I can start filling up some of these other roster spots, kind of free up some of my money so I don't have to sit here and wait and keep trying to do math while I'm doing this. Tootin goes for 18. I'm surprised he's going as high as he is, to be quite honest. Here's the board again. Team 10 is just bidding the hell out of everybody. This person doing a great job, but they're really aggressive, making sure that none of these deals ends up going through, just constantly putting the pressure on anybody to make sure that these deals go through. And every time you try to make a bid, Team 10 ends up popping up on the other side of it. So that's great work from Team 10 so far with Gibbs and Brock Bowers and James Cook. And then you could tell they're a seasoned auction drafter, and they'll be kind of sitting here being a thorn in everybody's side for a little while they still got money to go. Good Terry McLaurin. See how far his price point goes. We still got plenty of wide receivers. Pickens, Ibuka, DJ Moore. Man, pretty cheap for Terry McLaurin. That ends up being a really nice deal there. To the person, of course, I just talked about. He gets McLaurin there for $16 compared to Ladd McConkey for 30. I mean, that's a hell of a deal there. Goes Rams team kicker. Emmett Johnson, $2. We're going to start filling up some bench spots. I usually don't like doing it this early just because people still have money and they'll bid $2 to $3. And if you think about it, I mean, for 10 bench spots, $1 bids compared to $3 bids, you do it for 10 bench spots, extra $2. Sometimes $10 ends up being an extra player on your squad, and that's just kind of why I wait a little bit. Maybe that's a process I need to change on my end, but for some people, it just ends up being a little different there. Goes Jacoby Lane, $2, get $3 going. He's been a hot player for a little while too. Well, this is going on. I'll be on up to bid here shortly. Probably see if I can get a defense through. Vikings still sitting here, but we do have George Pickens going up, and he's going to skyrocket here. Yeah, Team 10 bringing the pressure constantly. Look at that. Anytime you try to bid, it just it ain't happening. I want to see if I can nominate. Probably get my kicker defense here. Kind of take a break and kind of fill a couple more of these spots. Here comes Jadarian Price. If he ends up being a sweet ad, I'd be happy to take Jadarian Price. End up in my flex play. The news for him is just keeps getting better and better. So I got him for $10 now. 12. I'll hit 13 on him. So 14. 15, 16, Yeah, he's going up now. Still got a couple running backs that I'd like to kind of fit through there. Not too worried about that. And then I will be on the clock to nominate here shortly. You got defenses and kickers. Let's see, Titans, Dallas. My turn to nominate. I will do Chase McLaughlin for $1. See if I can get him through. Surely nobody will hit me on there. Get my kicker through, McLaughlin for Tampa. I don't know if it matters. I'll sit there and twerk the waiver wire if I have to. Here we go. David Montgomery is up next. This ends up being one of the guys I want to target if he goes cheap enough. I'm going to definitely hit the bid there. See if he kind of sneaks through to me. I don't know why that keeps happening, but 16, 4, 3, 2, 1. God damn it. That would have been sweet. I really need wide receiver, so I want to keep has a hell of a deal for David Montgomery. Now I hate myself for not bidding. Son of a bitch. What's going on, Mr. Carlton? Hope you're doing well. Been happy to see you and Steve and the rest of the crew. I know the Cincinnati boys will be on here in a little bit, but it's always good to see you hanging out in these NFFC streets. Ooh, the Jack Strand nomination from the depths of hell. That was I don't know. You never know. Might work out. I can barely keep up with the draft and doing that to go into the depths of QB depth chart to go find somebody to nominate like him. So that was funny though. I caught that the other day, and you guys were just like, what the fuck just happened?" So that was awesome. But I hope you're doing well. We got JMO. Speaking of Jamesons, let's see if he sneaks through. This is another candidate. We still got a couple wide receivers. I really don't want to push it, but he ain't going for $12. I'll take him. 14. Rashi Rice is here. Emeka Buka, Ted McMillan. Yeah, there goes JMO. That $12 looked pretty good on paper, but $17 is still pretty cheap. I probably need to hit this. I am. I can't not. And it goes for 19. So we're done on JMO. We still got Mike Evans, who I think we can sneak through. Ibuka's probably going to send off the masses as far as his price point if we throw him out. So I'm kind of hesitant to do that. Sometimes you can get the last of these wide receivers if you just wait. But I said earlier, I don't have patience in this life. You can ask my wife. Anybody who knows me just knows I'm not a patient person. So, but this Team 10, I mean, is just whooping ass as far as their nominations, the aggression. Gibbs, Cook, get McLaurin for $16, and then they get Pickens for 28. So, Team 10 over here is just absolutely cooking right now. As far as the deals, think of the Brock Bowers for $30. Kind of makes the rest of it work out the way it does. We get Bucky Irvin. He's going to be, I'll bid him for 13. He's at 14, 15, 16. You can tell that tier is starting to break off a little bit. Get a couple of these guys. I ain't bidding on. Probably no. I don't want to. You can tell this tier break. Look at this price. You get Bucky. Usually goes for 15. He is at 20. You can tell. Looking at these running backs, you got the ghost of Josh Jacobs, and this tier you could tell quarterbacks thin. That's why, if you look, we've got Genty and Barkley. I could play flex here, but for the rest of it, I'm just gonna kind of wait on that. So I'm going to see if I can throw Ramondre out here in a little bit. Yep, so 21 for Bucky's not bad. Like I said, sometimes it gets a little aggressive. You could tell in these tiers sometimes, especially when you're in a draft, kind of where things go. But Bucky Irving ends up being 21's not a bad price. But speaking of price, $20 for Price, 21 for Irving. So they're going to live in that middle ground as far as wide receiver goes. So wouldn't spend $10 on him. News is coming up being a little bit better on him. I understand if you're not in on it, but yeah, that's the price you pay for the people you love. If you love Bucky Irving, that's what that's what the going's for. these days. But we got DJ Moore, still got Tedero McMillan and Ibuka and Mike Evans. DJ Moore's not been really a target of mine. I think he's okay, but not for $22. I kind of wish I would have grabbed another. Probably should have spent the Saquon Barkley money on the wide receiver, but I can just kind of annihilate through there. So we'll see how cheap. Nobody, Mike Evans and Devontae. This is the old man discriminatory club. People just do not like these guys. So he's going to go $5. I'll bid. I'll bid again. Yeah, he's starting to. Ain't letting anybody sneak through on this. Yeah, I'm going to keep bidding. $12. Somebody's got it set. I'm just going to keep bidding them up. Yeah, somebody's got it set for them. See if somebody hits the button one more time on Devontae. Don't tell me if $13 Devontae Adams. Give me a break, dude. I guess. It's fine. But I'll be nominating again here shortly. Get Travion. News on him hasn't been great, which if you've followed what I've had to say this entire time, it seems like Ramondre's been the running back one without hesitation. And he's gone behind Travion in all these drafts this entire year. So let's kind of see what that goes there. Yeah. Listen to Joe. If you haven't hit the like button yet, I can have somebody else vouching for me this time instead of me pleading and praying and all that stuff for them. So here goes Travion off the board. $12. Like I said, I appreciate everybody who's tuning in tonight. If you haven't, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe, all that good stuff as I sit here and try to work my way through this auction. I'm holding up so far. It was a little chaotic to begin with, and I still need to learn how to do math on paper, but so far so good. I'll pull the board up here in a little bit, but I've got some guys ready to nominate. And quarterback hasn't. I mean, we got Herbert, Allen, and Bryce Young. Somebody tried to get that through. So the quarterback will probably go pretty cheap, I would assume. And, you know, I've said it earlier. I want to pay up for guys, so I'm always going to play late round quarterback, Bo Nix, Jared Goff, Jordan Love. Those kind of guys can go for a buck later on. I just don't think you have to push it. And then tight end, too. We got Bowers, Loveland, and McBride all off the board. So I'll probably play the Dalton Kincaid, Dallas Goedert, Juwan Johnson, mix and match brigade later on when some of these guys get a little cheaper. But we're starting to run out of some of these tiers. The running backs, we got Jacobs, Quinshawn, Jalen Ward, and then Ramondre, and then we're getting into the dark times portion of the program. You get to Tony Pollard, the desperation dart throw, and then wide receiver as well. Rashee Rice, Ibuka, T-Mac, and Mike Evans. This is the last list here, speaking of the devil. Here comes one of them, and I expect him to go through the roof here. Let's see if I can get in here. $23, 24. I really don't want to hit 25, but I feel like I should. See if somebody else does. I'm going to hit 25. Did I get him? I hit 25. I got a Ibuka for 25. That's fine. There we go. So that was a little weird, but get Ibuka, Burden, and T. Higgins as my wide receivers. That was like a little bit of a glitch, but that's fine with me. So I spent basically in the $25 range portion of the program for my wide receivers, and I end up getting Trey Tucker's for $2. He'll be a bench play. And then I've got Burden, T. Higgins, and Emeka Ibuka. So that's pretty fun as far as wide receivers go without breaking the bank there. And then I want to take a break from nominating. I'm going to get me a defense. I get Ibuka for 25, and then Rashee Rice goes for 30. I talked about this tier break here. You can feel it starting to close up. So I'm glad we got that okay. I'll go Vikings defense. Going up against Jordan Love. Hopefully they just rack up sacks and the pressure there. Like I said, this is the time of the auction. If you've just got done bidding, you kind of want to fill up some players. This is kind of where I want to kind of go as far as that goes. Yeah, we had this happened earlier. it worked well for me. I'm not going to complain. So don't shoot the messenger. But yeah, I saw that earlier. Here goes Ramondre, and then, but this is still so much better. This is my favorite. As far I know, they have like the football guys draft dominator and stuff like this, but this um nobody does it better than the NFFC as far as this room goes. As far as auction drafts, I wish I could have this just for my other drafts that aren't on NFFC. I love the room. I love being able to go back with the draft board. It ends up being real nice too. Ramondre, you could tell that the last tier of running backs, like I talked about, $8 player going for 14. So, but out of the 6 hole, I've got Genty, Saquon, and then my wide receivers end up being Emeka Buka, Burden, and T. Higgins. And then I got Trey Tucker for $2 just because I felt like he was going to be a player that kind of goes more expensive later on. So tight end, quarterback, and then the rest of it I'll be able to fill out with bench spots, and I'll probably have a little bit of money to do so. So that feels pretty good compared to where I normally sit, where I really do the stars and scrub stuff, where I end up just blowing my load early and then kind of having to sit and wait. I can sit here and kind of work my bench a little bit while some of these people bleed out money. So feels pretty good. Genty Barkley goes for $33. That was kind of the deal for me that I felt was pretty good. Genty goes at the price that a little cheaper than he normally would go. He's usually like a $41 to $45 player before his injury. Everybody's excited for him. So I was excited to get Genty and Barkley at their prices at 39 and 33. And then, like I said earlier, I just wanted to play through the middle wide receivers. Like T Mac now goes for $27. I got a Buka for 25. $2 adds up, especially you can tell that you could feel the crunch of this tier. That's Mike Evans, and then we drop into Carnell Tate, Marvin Harrison, the guy that everybody hates, that kind of tier there. So starting off pretty good and got a little bit of money to spend too. So yeah, $51 left and then 40. I got 10 bunch spots, so 30. Need quarterback, tight end, 20. So I can do some $5, $10 bench spots. Devon Vele, this was on my list for late round flyers. He's probably going to go for $1. That's a pretty good buck. So 10 hole again. 10 hole is just absolutely whooping ass in this draft. Also got to fill up my piece of paper here. Buka. Here goes Mike Evans, and we'll see if this discount goes or because, like I said, he's the last of this tier. As you can tell, you'll kind of see if he ends up going for cheaper, if people who need wide receiver feel the need to get him. We got a couple guys still need to fill out their third wide receiver. Mike Evans for $13. People are scared. They are scared to death of trying to get that through. Jaden Reed. Take a bid on him. Don't want to bid $5 on him. I'll show this board here for a second. Kind of check that out. If you see any teams that you like so far, drop them in the chat. See if, like I said, you can see all the pricing. We got a couple people with some money, but for the most part, everybody's playing pretty well. Not a whole lot of guys like way too behind. Like I said, I had a draft last week that somebody blew all their money late or early. And I mean, they have like Geno Smith and Carson Beck as their quarterback. They got picked apart. Clearly, somebody who's never been in a live auction. They started off with Gibbs and Bijan, got Emeka Buka, which is good in theory, but you also have to play 7 other starters, and the rest of their starters are absolute dog shit. So, kind of what happens when you don't know how to budget in an auction, and it was just kind of funny to kind of see that go through. So, get BTJ. He's kind of going up here a little bit. Got some. Set up my queue a little bit here. Get some of these. There's Tony Pollard. Also can grab quarterback. I do have money for Drake May if I wanted to do that. Like I said, none of the expensive guys have gone yet, so I definitely can make that happen. Let me see. I have $51 left. 51. -9. 43, still QB. Tight end, flex. So I can do 10, 10, and then I have $23 for the rest of. I still could do $20 as far as another flex play if I want to. Just trying to make sure I had enough money to make it happen. A friend offered me McBride and Swift for JT and a 10-team. Tight end is Fannin right now. Who is your other running backs to go around Swift? As of right now, I'd probably do that as long as the rest of your team's okay. It's also 10-team. You'd be having the positional advantage having Trey McBride over the rest of the field compared to Harold Fannin. So as long as the rest of your running backs are okay, I think I would do that. Get the big upgrade, and then you have Swift too, who I like a lot. I know some people don't, but I end up thinking that ends up being okay. Just let me know who the rest of your running backs around there are. But 10-team, you can also work the waiver wire. Drake May, Kenneth Walker, JSN, AJ Brown, Tedero, McMillan, Fannin. Yeah, so you'd be replacing. You'd have K9 as your running back 1, and then you have Swift as your backup 2. But you'd also be upgrading. I think I would do it. Like I said, it's 10-team. You can figure some stuff out on the wire if you need to. But in 10-team, you have Drake May, who ends up being a top 5 quarterback that smashes the rest of your competition there. And then Trey McBride ends up being, the tight end advantage too. And I like Swift, and you already have Kenneth Walker, who I like a lot. So it ends up going okay there. So we got Tyler Warren here. Let's see if I can bid 12 for him. I'll bid 13. Kind of pretty cheap price for. No, it's not. It's going up now. I want to see if I can get Tucker Kraft to sneak through here. Seems like he's going to be okay. The only part is I don't want a tight end run where everybody starts spending money on these guys, but I definitely would like to get Tucker Kraft. He ends up kind of this last tier for me as far as guys go before. I don't really want Pitts, Fannin, Laporta. Injury stuff feels pretty iffy right now. That doesn't feel the best. We get Quinshon Judkins here. We'll see how cheap he goes. But yeah, if you guys have any more draft questions and stuff, now that this is slowing down a little bit, I'd be happy to talk through stuff. If you got any teams you need me to rank, I'd be happy to do so as well. Any of that jazz, just let me know, and I'd be happy to do it. And make sure to hit the like and subscribe if you haven't already. So appreciate you all tuning in. Definitely getting a crowd for a Monday night for an auction. Like I said, not a lot of people doing auction stuff. So I'll nominate Tucker Kraft here for $4. See how high he ends up going. See if it's probably, yeah. There we go. God damn it. Way through the roof. I should have just came out with an $8 bid. I feel like I screwed the pooch there. I should have just came out with an $8 bid. But here's the draft board. We get Chris Godwin coming up now. Show this board for a minute, and then we'll get back. Chris Godwin, like I said, ends up on the board. We got Jalen Warren, Rashad White, Kenneth Gainwell, Jordan Mason, Dobbins, Corey Krosky-Merritt. I still need to fill out my flex. Flex is getting pretty thin at the moment. Also need a QB. Maybe see if somebody nominates quarterback. Kind of want to throw one of the late round guys through and see if I do like a $2 bid, if I could just get him without getting steamed up. Also got Marvin Harrison Jr. Getting steamed up a little bit here. I'll go back to this. So if you guys have a preference or want to see the board, just drop it in the chat. Let me know. I'll be happy to switch it over as we're going through if you guys have a preference now that the board is starting to fill up a little bit more. Yeah, we get $14. Marvin Harrison Jr. going for $18. So you can feel the squeeze going on with the last tier. You get Josh Downs, Pittman, Pierce, Wandale, $20 for MHJ. Feels a little spicy. I like Marvin Harrison better than most this year just because everybody doesn't think anything at all about him. I think he ends up being okay as a flyer. Kenneth Gainwell. Got Jalen Warren is kind of interesting. He's going to be in this last little pocket of starting running backs. Not a whole lot of them left. Said I also need tight end. Probably just double pinch there. Here's an interesting one. See how high Josh Jacobs goes. If he goes at all, somebody's got to hit 3. There we go. I didn't think he was getting away that cheap. $3 for Josh Jacobs. So that's your that's how the people with real money playing on NFFC feel about Josh Jacobs. He goes for $3 in this auction. So kind of go for, your feeling out process later on for some of these guys later on. Here goes Jalen Warren. I'd be happy to have him in my flex. Gonzalez. I'll hit 9 on Warren. Not a guy I love, but ends up being a flex option for me. This is last of the tier. Son of a bitch. Felt that coming. I'll bid 11 on him. I've got a couple bucks to do it. I bet he gets hit to 12 again. Never mind. I get Jalen Warren for $11, so he ends up being my RB3, and then he can also kind of be a flex guy for me as well. So $40 left. I'm basically middle of the pack compared to some of the other guys. Like I said, I usually like stars and scrubs on these approaches. I'm not a big, well-rounded, getting a bunch of C players and just making sure I got enough money. I usually like to play, play the board and maximize my team. Feel like I'm a little behind as far as starters go. Here goes Lamar, so we're going to start kicking off this quarterback run that I talked about earlier. See if he gets up to $10 here. 8 feels pretty cheap. As cheap as hell. Lamar Jackson, $8. Goes Kyle Pitts. See how high he goes. Laporta would be interesting. I feel like Laporta is going kind of getting slept on. As long as his injury stuff's okay, you can always pair him with a different tight end. But if Laporta ends up being cheap, I think I'll take a stab on him. But as far as my roster goes, it's need tight end and quarterback, but the rest of it I'll just be filling out bench spots basically. So doing okay on that end. $9 for Kyle Pitts, and here's the board again. Team 2 filling up. Basically, it basically solidified a lot of their stuff. They'll be paying these backup prices for a lot of these guys. I'll be nominating here shortly, so I'll have to go through and see who I want as far as that goes. 10, 20, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9. So got 9 spots there. And then I need tight end and quarterback, so $40. I got a little money to spend. And go grab basically quarterback, tight end. I have a $10 limit at least, and then I can just I can get elite quarterback, elite or whatever's left of the tight end, like Sam Laporta, pay up to like $10, and then I could do like $2-3 bids as far fill up my bench out and just kind of work the waiver wire. I feel like I do waiver wire better than anything else as far as these drafts go. So I always feel like I can get a good deal here. So here goes Drake May. This is a quarterback that I do want. We'll see how cheap he goes. I'll bid up probably like $10 here. Here we go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Don't get bid up. God damn. I'll do 10 for Drake May. Don't have much of them. So if somebody else hits the button on them, I won't do any more of it. But here we go. Drake May, $10. I planned on spending 5. I had a little bit extra money, so I spent 10 on Drake May. Probably a little idiotic, but it's okay. All good in the hood. And then after this round, we'll have a 5-minute break. So I'll go through some of these teams and, kind of go through the lay of the land and all that good stuff. So I got $30 left. I'm going to nominate Laporta. Alrighty. 30, 20, and then 9, so I can nominate Laporta here. I'll go up to come out with pretty stern bids, see if anybody bites. They do. Like I said, I got a little bit of money to spend, so as long as nobody bid, I really don't want to pay. God, somebody's watching the stream and sniping me. I will go back to my bread and butter, which is, of course, Dalton Kincaid, Goddard. I've done that 400 times. I was trying to diversify a little bit. Crenshaw, I hope you're happy as I'm in mourning. It's frustrating as hell. So here goes Joe Burrow. See how high he ends up going for. Like I said, we're going to finish this round. So we got 5 more bids here. Burrow goes for 7. So $10 for Drake May doesn't feel absolutely terrible. And then I'll go through some of these teams and then we'll finish off this second half of the draft. I'll do some accounting, see if I can get my money right. Like I said, here's the board for any of those interested. And then Isaiah likely ends up being this nomination. Not a guy I'm interested in. Just saw Jaden Blues getting signed to the Eagles practice squad for what that's worth. I likely for $4. That's $5. That seems way too much. 6. If that's the case, I'm glad we're going to go on break because I'm going to wait a little bit before we get into bidding some of these tight ends because I feel like tight end prices going to get a little more expensive for what I want at this time. But Jackson Dart, get the quarterback run. I've already got Drake May. I'll have to check and see what his bye week ends up being. It's 11 for Drake May. Like I said, I got $30. I've got tight end and then bench, 9 bench spots and then tight end. So I could basically, do a couple dollars here and there, see if I can get some cheap guys. Caleb Douglas for $1. Gonna see, gotta try to fill up his bench spot. And then we'll have 2 more nominations after this. Like I said, I'll show the board, and then we'll kind of go through some of these teams after the next 2 nominations go up. Make sure nobody sneaks through right before break here. I'll have a 5-minute break. I'll go through, like I said, I'll go through the teams. And if you guys have any questions, drop them in. I'd be happy to take care of them while we wait and regroup. And like I said, I need to do my finances again. I'll do $3 on Cortland Sutton. He goes for 5. Downs and Pierce are sitting here. Wan'Dale Robinson is a guy I would like if he goes pretty cheap. Cortland Sutton's going for $6. That feels pretty good for a Wan'Dale Robinson kind of sneak through the end there. So we'll get through this last one here, and then we will take a little bit of break. And like I said, I'll go through these teams. Dalton Kincaid, I need him. This is my dog right here. God, why? Keep bidding me up, pal. I got money. Good thing about auctions, if you want somebody, you just buy them. That's what I just did. Overspent on Dalton Kincaid. That's fine. So my roster is set as far as starters go. And then we got 5 minutes. So I'm going to go through this. Starting with my team, I've filled out My starter squad so far, we got Drake May for $10. Genty and Barkley for Genty goes for 39. Barkley goes for 33. Starting wide receivers, we start three wide receivers in NFFC. So Burden, T. Higgins, and Emeka Ibuka. I've got Dalton Kincaid for $6 as my starting tight end. Uh, Buccaneers kicker, that's Chase McLaughlin. And then Vikings defense for $1. And then I've got Jalen Warren, who will be my flex play. And then Trey Tucker for $2 starts off my wide receiver bench spot. So I thought Trey Tucker, starting wide receiver, is going to definitely get some work. I thought $2 was just a little cheap there. So going through some of these other teams, got a couple that still need some, like this one, you could tell they spent pretty heavy. Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb, Cortland Sutton. They got Bijan, Travis Achan, but they only got $31, and they still need quarterback, tight end, flex, and then kicker and defense, along with the 10 bench spots. That'll get a little iffy for them. Team 2, Brees Hall, Montgomery, a little light at running back compared to some of these other teams, but they start with Mike Evans, Devonta, and Christian Watson. They got Tucker Kraft, Brian Thomas Jr. in their flex. That feels pretty strong. One hole's got Herbert for $4. That looks like a deal right now as far as quarterbacks go. McCaffrey and Jonathan Brooks. Chase goes for 52. It's a little cheap. And then Booty will end up being a flex play for him. And then Nico Collins for 32. Collins ends up being a pretty nice price there. And then he's got Trey McBride for $24. So Team 4 paid $16 for Josh Allen. Jonathan Taylor, Derrick Henry, the 1-2 punch. That feels pretty nice. Puka, J-Mo, Jordan Tyson, probably end up being Carnell Tate as his wide receiver 3. And then Pollard and his flex. That's okay there. $5 for Brandon Aubrey. I know he's a little bit of an advantage, but good God, $5 for a kicker in this economy? Holy shit. But out of the 5 hole, Achane, Kyron Williams, Achane goes for 35. A little, I don't want to say pricey, but on the top end, I've seen him go for pretty cheap, just I guess for the Dolphins reasons. Kyron for 22. AJ Brown, Quentin Johnson, and Chris Godwin, Sam Laporta. This is somebody who, is starting to fill their flex out pretty well. Of course, you got my team, MarShawn Lloyd and Javonte and Kenneth Walker. So that's going to be the 3-headed monster out of the 7 hole with Amon-Ra St. Brown, Matthew Golden, Parker Washington, and then he's got Roma Dunze and then Emmett Johnson for $3. So that feels okay there. Hampton and Chase Brown out of the 9 hole. Trevor Lawrence, $5 is their quarterback. Like I said, Herbert at $4 seems like the deal as far as quarterbacks go. Stribling for 11, Garrett Wilson for 27. He's also got Michael Pittman for $7, but he also paid up for Loveland, and he's got Bashal Tootin there. Jahmyr Gibbs, and out of the 10 spot, Jahmyr Gibbs goes for 59. James Cook for 39, but he makes up price-wise. George Pickens for $28. This usually ends up being kind of like a $30 player. And then Terry McLaurin for 16 feels like a steal. He's also got Brock Bowers here, so he's got the positional advantage there. 11 holes got Lamar for $8. Swift and Ramondre, a little light at running back, but these wide receivers definitely make up for it. Zay Flowers, Ladd, and Rashee Rice. 2 go for 30, 1 goes for 31. Then he's got Tyler Warren, the positional advantage at tight end. So, and Jaden Reed for $9 in the flex. Last team, Team 12, right before we kick things back off, Joe Burrow for $7. Jadarian Price and Bucky Irving and Travion Henderson will be the 3-headed running back monster there. Drake London, Neighbors, Chris Olave, and Devontae Adams ends up being probably the best wide receiver room that I see so far, and then Kyle Pitts for $9. So that feels okay. Just kind of looking at some stuff. Drake May ends up being okay at his price, probably a little more expensive than I should have done. But I've got my starters filled. Like I said, Trey Tucker will move to the bench spot, and then we'll have Warren here in the flex. Well, Ibuka, Burden, and Higgins. I just kind of played the middling wide receiver $25 tier there. So if you got a favorite team, drop it in the chat. We'll kick off here in about 15 seconds, get the second half underway. This will go a little quicker here with these nominations and stuff too. So I basically, let me see here. I've got my team 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I got $24 and 9 spots to fill. So we'll get back here. 24, 9. me see. $24.9, $2. Probably shouldn't have hit the bid button on Josh Downs, but it's all right. Here we go. So just added Josh Downs for $8. He'll go on my flex there. That'll be my big spend. Just because the 3 wide receivers, I probably shouldn't have done that. Be quite honest, that's kind of stupid of me. It's all good in the hood. So I got a $9 max bid and then $16 left to spend. So basically $2 for each player is what I can do. Like I said, I probably shouldn't have done the Josh Downs thing. That's pretty stupid of me. That's where patience comes in. If you ever listen to what I have to say and have more patience than I do, you can pull things off. I probably could have got Wandale for cheaper. It's frustrating. Oh well. Let's see if I can pull one of these late round quarterbacks. See if I can just do like a buck on one of these guys. Jordan Love, maybe. It's also got the same bye week as Drake May, though. All right, I'll do Kyler for $2. See if I can sneak him through as my quarterback too. See if he gets bid up. Yep, he does. That was a wasted nomination. Yeah, so I tried doing that. That did not work. This Josh Downs thing was very stupid to me. I don't know why I did that. Here comes Kittle. I'm going to start loading up my queue for some of these just late round handcuffs, see if I can get a couple of them. Basically, going to load up queue and see if I can sneak them through before we get too much craziness going. Leak Davis. Vidal. Jane Blue's gone. Jonah Coleman. Who's Bo Nix? $2. We're going to get a little bit of this quarterback run. We're seeing this now, so I'm going to lay off on quarterback for a little bit. $3. I want like a $1 or $2 guy. I do not want to sit here and pay $2, $3, $4 for some of these guys. So I'm gonna Patriots kickers off the board. I'm gonna pull up the draft board here so you guys can check it out for a little bit. Malik Willis for $1. We're gonna get on a quarterback run. My max bid is $9 if I want to do basically $1, $2 bids. The rest of the way, I think I got. Let me see. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I got 8 spots left, so I can basically do $2 down the board. I can do $1. But some of these guys are still just a little too pricey for what I want to pay as far as some of this stuff goes. Rashad White goes for $6. Then this second, like I said, this second half of the draft will end up doing a little bit better as far as speed. Patrick Mahomes for $2. Somebody trying to set the tone here for him. Got 3. It's like the Mahomes price. Jared Goff would be sweet on this team. Purdy, Baker. I'm going to set these guys in my queue and I'll come back to them later on. There's Alec Pierce for $1. I could do $2 on him. $3. He's going for a little bit more. Goes Pierce here for $6 now. I paid $8 for Josh Downs, so I think I'd rather have the $6 for Alec Pierce, but it's all good in the hood. Like I said, probably something I should have laid off on doing. I would have rather probably had Wandale or one of those kind of guys, but it's all good here. Let's see if I can float tight end through on my next nomination. I think Juwan Johnson, one of these kind of guys over here. I want to see what 7 for Kincaid. Juwan Johnson is 8 as far as bye weeks go. Also have Dallas Goedert. Hunter Henry's sitting here too. Get the stack there with Drake May going if I want to do that. Chiefs kicker for $1. Whatever. That'll go. Kalen Black. Like I said, I'm going to see if I can fill out some of these bench spots with some of these handcuff running backs before they get too expensive. I just throw out like a $2 bid and see if it lands. But people still have money and they're going to keep trying to push it. We got 1, 2, 3 people with $30 left, and they still got roster spots to fill. So you'll see them kind of working and going through that stuff. So we got Chris Bell, the rookie wide receiver for Miami. He's at $6 right now. So you're not sneaking anything through at the moment. $7? Jesus. What the hell? But most I want to pay for somebody is $2, and I don't know if I'm going to get anybody through right now at this price point, but worth a shot, I guess, to see. Jordan Mason for $1. I'm going to trying to look through some of these backup running backs, and it ain't looking pretty for, like I said, there's too much money in the room still to be trying to pull what I'm going to try to do, but I don't really have any other options. Can kind of look for late round wide receiver Jalen Noel for $1. It's probably not a bad throw out there. I'll try Jalen Noel for $1. See if he goes for 2. I make it through. There we go. Very nice. Jalen Noel for $1. That kind of sets things up. There goes Harold Fannin. He's, I believe, the last of this tier break before we break off into, Kelsey Goddard territory. I got Dalton Kincaid. I paid $6 for him. Fannin's going to go for 5. So the Kincaid probably is going to be a little bit of an overpay, but he's one of my favorites as far as the tight end pool goes, especially for the middle round. I hope that tight end run doesn't happen here because I really don't want to start overbidding on tight ends. I pulled up this board here for a minute. We got Brenton Strange for $1 now. Not somebody that is really in my player pool for guys that I actually want, but for somebody, he goes for $1. Like I said, if we can just sneak some these one-round players, and then I can kind of bid up later on. But we got 3 teams still without quarterback, team without a third wide receiver, and wide receiver is pretty thin at the moment. And then 2 teams without tight ends and flexes. So there's still a little bit of money to be made. We're getting like kickers and defenses run at the moment. And I'm $15 left, and I've got a couple spots left, but I'm basically middle of the pack. We got a couple people towards the end with more money. Also have more roster spots to fill. There goes Wandale. See how high Wandale Robinson goes. He's a late round flyer, especially in redraft. I'm happy to pick. Like I said, we'll see if his price stays at 5. I'd rather have him for 5 than Josh Downs at 8. I don't know what the hell I was thinking, but he's starting to sneak up too, so it's not like we're doing anything nuts. Here we go. So Wandale for $7, just a $1 difference between him and Josh Downs. Metcalf's probably going to. Metcalf's an auction player that everybody hates him, but he ends up being a pretty good deal. $10. You can feel this wide receiver tier. You'll look at the list here. Diggs, Coker. I mean, this is the last of a dying breed at this rate. So he ends up going for $10. Not a bad price for him. Just a guy that nobody wants to click. So here comes J.K. Dobbins. I got a bid for 2. He goes for 4. I'm retired from the J.K. Dobbins bid here. So 3, 4, 5, 6. I got 7 spots left to fill. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yep. So just going to try to see if I can play the rest of this draft out without getting too goofy with it. But Caleb Johnson for $1 feels pretty thin. A guy who did nothing in Pittsburgh going over I still think like somebody like Kareem Hunt or something like that will end up kind of coming over and interfering with the MarShawn Lloyd dream that everybody's got as far as him being a big hit fantasy wise. I think he's okay for where he's going right now price wise, but we'll see. Tajay Spears. I try to go in for $1. He goes for 2. I don't really want to bid 3 on him. That's a pretty good price for him. I still need a backup running back. I feel to him. Really wanted Jordan Love, and this quarterback pricing is still pretty wild, so I'm going to lay off on this here. I'm going to see if I can get Malik Davis through for $2, the backup to Javonte Williams. Goes $2. Get the backup here. See if I can get a backup through. Probably could have done it for $1, but you throw out $2, you kind of get people off of you. So I get Malik Davis back up for $2. That's fine. Probably not great, but I want to make sure I have enough money to kind of actually bid on these last couple guys here in this tier. So quarterback, once again, getting a little too hot. That sucks. So I definitely need a backup to him. It's basically Brock Purdy, Baker Mayfield, because I don't want to pay more than $2 for these guys. That's the only issue there. Pull the board up here again for those watching. Jake Ferguson for $1, $2. Yeah, this guy's still got money to spend, so anytime you try to sneak one through, they're going to lay the hammer on you. I'm going to pull up my queue a little bit and see if I can get some of these tight ends. Juwan Johnson, see if I can pull him up for $2. P-Ryan's a pretty good click as a backup for $1. Backups are going real cheap right now. I kind of wish I would have just thrown out $1 for Malik Davis instead of 2, but it's all good in the hood. There's Dak, $2, $3. See if he gets into like the $5, $6 range. Dak's at 4 right now. RJ Harvey. Tried bidding $2 on him. He already goes. See if he ends up getting pretty pricey here. But we still got a couple running backs. Chuba Hubbard, Ja'Cory Crosky-Merritt, Keaton Mitchell, Chris Rodriguez. A couple viable guys here before the tier completely falls off. RJ Harvey for 8 sounds about right. Not the best, but it sounds about right. So I got 3, 4, 5. I got 6 spots left and $13. So here comes Dallas Goddard coming out pretty aggressive there on that pricing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 13. So I got a $3 and basically $2 bids after this if I want to make something happen. Juwan Johnson. That was a tight end target I wanted. I'll bid 3 on him. He could be my tight end too to Dalton Kincaid. There we go. So I get Juwan Johnson. That's my backup. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Got 5 spots left. One, 2, 3, 4, 5. And $10. So I can go up to 6 and then do some dollar bids. Don't need tight end. I definitely need a quarterback too. So I'll be definitely looking there next as my next nomination. See if I can get Purdy or one of these guys through pretty cheap. Purdy or Baker. Matt Stafford has the same bye week as Drake May, so that doesn't feel great. Then we'll close it out with a couple guys. This starting lineup feels pretty strong. The bench compared to some of the other teams feels pretty weak, but I can nominate like a couple more of these backup running backs. I'm going to see if I can hit quarterback here and see if I can grab my quarterback too going through. Comes Jalen Coker for $3. 4. Switch that back there. $13 for Jalen Coker. Jesus, what the hell? All right. Let's see if I can get Purdy through here for $2. Please, nobody hit 3 on me so I don't have to have a meltdown going through. There we go. Purdy for $2. I'll take it. Hell yeah. There goes Hurts for $3. 4. He'll go through a little bit. 4 spots left with $8, so I can do $2 a piece. Basically, what I've been trying to do, or I can do the max 5 bids and then finish up with 3 other spots. I'm going to definitely get probably another running back, just kind of see if I can hammer that out. Wide receiver feels pretty set. As far as those guys go, there's just not a whole lot of late round wide receivers that I'm loving and wanting to go through. Rather just kind of hit the running backs pretty hard, see if I can get some backups in there and kind of make it work. I'm going to update this. Handcuff here. Some of these nominations go through. Here goes Woody Marks. I can do 2 on him. I cannot. He already goes for 2. $3 for Woody Marks. Comes Chuba Hubbard. He should probably be bid up a little bit more than what he's going for, but we're getting into that weird part of the draft where it ends up being so thin. Got a couple guys still here. Khalil Shakir, Debo. Romeo Dobbs ends up being kind of a fun flyer. Ryan Flournoy. Like I said, I don't want to get too crazy into the depth just because a lot of these wide receivers this late just don't feel like pretty good bets. But it was Keaton Mitchell. And check the board there. Got May and Purdy as quarterbacks. Is this going on? Ibuka, Higgins, Burden as my wide receivers, so that feels pretty solid there. Genty and Barkley. So my starting lineup feels pretty solid compared to the rest of the field. It's really just this bench. Like I said, I'll work the waiver wire, pray, do whatever I need to do. See if I get JCM to pull through. Trey Harris goes. Let's see. Should I do Brooks, Puka, and Cardinal Tate for Jamar Chase and Kyron Williams? Um, man, Chase and Puka are basically coin flip. I'd rather have Kyron Williams and Jonathan Brooks, and I honestly think that Cardinal Tate probably not going to be the best click this year. Yeah, I think I would do that. If they want to throw like a little something in there, if you want to get too crazy with it, but yeah, I think that's a fair trade to do. Like I said, I'm way behind on Cardinal Tate compared to on the rest of the field. I know a lot of people, especially his draft, where he's been going in drafts. I just think that Wandale's ends up being a better click than he is. So yeah, I throw out JCM, he gets smoked. But Kyron over Jonathan Brooks, I don't think Brooks is going to be near. Yeah, I'd say I think it's pretty fair. Just because Brooks and Tate, I'd rather have but I like Kyron Williams compared to other guys. But I'm pretty low on Carnell Tate. I think he's way overpriced for where he's going. The offensive line for the Titans is absolutely terrible. That's part of it. And then I know he's a rookie with draft capital, but Cam Ward hasn't been good. Kyron's going to smash. I mean, he's done it every single year. And then you get Jamar Chase and Puka. That's basically straight up. I mean, they go 3-4. That's not something you have to really debate there. Would you rather have Kyron Williams or Jonathan Brooks and Carnell Tate? You're probably not starting Carnell Tate every week unless this is a pretty deep league. And then basically ends up being Kyron Williams versus Jonathan Brooks. I'd much rather have Jonathan Brooks. So I think it's pretty fair. If you think it's lopsided and think you can get a little bit more like a low end receiver to come back to you, that's fine. But I'd rather have basically Kyron Williams versus Brooks and Carnell Tate, and I'd just rather have Kyron Williams. So I would take it. So we got Flournoy here. So hopefully he doesn't get bid up more. I've just basically $2 in my way through the end of this. There we go. Got 3 spots left. Still got a couple players in here. Just starting to get a couple more people dropping in. We get Romeo Dobbs. Throw back this board up here. I got 3 spots left with $6, so I can $2 my way. I don't really want to do the $1 bids because I don't want to sit here forever. I kind of want to lock this up and get going compared to some of the other people. Just kind of sit back and watch the draft. It was Hunter Henry for $1. It ends up being probably a pretty good deal. If you got the patience to wait in some of these drafts, it ends up being really nice as far as some of the values. I mean, Hunter Henry that should be a $2 player. He was awesome last year. Kenyon Sadiq going off the board, but we're seeing money get pretty tight. $4 for Gonzalez, 4, 12, 8. Crenshaw's already maxed out his team, which he's basically done a bunch of middle tier guys. Shakir, I'll bid an extra $1 on him. Hopefully don't get it bid up to 3. That's probably a $3 or $4 player. And I definitely need running back the next 2 picks. So Shakir. Bench is working out a little bit better than I originally planned. Get Jaden Daniels. We'll see the price on him. It's late in this draft, so let me see. And all the quarterbacks are basically gone. This Bryce Young, it's got Nix and Darnold. Kind of whatever there. I'm about to be on the clock again to nominate here shortly. But I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Wide receiver is pretty much set. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 wide receivers. I'm going to basically get rid of the Debo pick, and I'm just going to go to Kalen Black for $1. See if I can get him through here. He gets bid up to 2. but I'm going to fill up with, I've got 4 running backs. You only have to start 2, and then you got the flex option, but just see if I can get some hammers to go through late. Try to do that there, but Kalen Black goes for $3. But we're kind of finishing off this auction here. This person here, 10's kind of slowing down considerably, still needs a flex option and kind of running out of money. So bench so far, Josh Downs for $8, Trey Tucker for 2, Jalen Noel for $1, Malik Davis back up for the Cowboys for 2, Juwan Johnson for 3, Big Cock Brock Purdy for $2, Flournoy, and then Khalil Shakir for $2. So I've basically, like I said, nickeled and dimed this about as well as I can. But we got a couple more running backs to go. I got 2 spots to fill. Here goes Chig, Okonkwo. Go through some of these other teams here as this keeps going on. And like I said, once I finish up my team, I'll kind of I'll post it on Twitter and kind of go through it there. But I'll probably head on out of here because this will end up taking a while for some of these guys to knock off these $1 and $2 bids. Max Clare. What the fuck? What? $1 for Max Clare. I don't think I've seen Max Clare get drafted yet this year, so that's a new one. We got a couple more. I can max bid Chris Rodriguez for $3. Aaron Jones is still on the board. And then the rest of it ends up being backups here. So I'm going to finish out the next 2 spots here with backups. I've already got 2 quarterbacks, 2 tight end. Feel pretty good. I think this team ended up working out pretty well. Kind of wish I didn't spend the money on Josh Downs, but it's all good in the hood there. You got Chiefs defense now on the board. But we still got somebody who needs a tight or a flex option and then a kicker. I mean, or yeah, that's a flex up. There's not many flexes out there left. I mean, it's pretty dire. But most of these guys end up basically running out of money. We got $1 left here, $4 for 3 spots. He's got $12, but he's still got to finish out this entire roster. So you can tell Team 3 kind of blew their load, and they're going to be sitting a while doing $1 bids. Same with this team. This is max dollar 1 bid. I got $3 bid for 2 players left. And then got a couple people down here. This Team 10 here, which I thought was doing pretty good. I don't know what happened, but they got some money that they're going to be sitting on trying to fill up some teams here for a little while. And basically this will be a $4 bid. And I got 2 other people on the back end with $5 bid. I'm going to throw out Chris Rodriguez, see if I can get him for $3, and then see if I can get one more like $1 player. Same probably Aaron Jones. But when you're nominating towards the end of these drafts, you got to be pretty quick with it on these $1, $2 nominations so you can beat your opponent. You're not going to sit here and try to, wait and do all. You got to be very aggressive. So I'm going to do Rodriguez, $3. See if I get outbid on him. That'll be my max bid. Yep. God damn. Knew that was going to happen. So I'm going to have to sit here basically another round. He goes for 4. That's going to max out him to $2. I still got Aaron Jones. Whatever, dude. Frustrating. Come on, Claiborne for $1. Like I said, I'm going to fill out this team. Got 2 spots left, and then we'll get out of here. I'm not going to make everybody suffer through trying to, fill out the rest of these teams here because we'd end up being here all night. So waiting for Aaron Jones to pop up so I can get super aggressive getting him. There goes Katron Allen for $1. These guys, Claiborne and Allen, both of them end up feeling pretty thin as far as the bets, how they turned out in training camp this season. Here's Ray Davis for $1. Yeah, I've had a lot of these drafts where these handcuff running backs go for anywhere from $3 to $5. It's not something I ever budget for, so it just like don't ever work for me. That's not how I end up playing. There's Ray Davis for $3. Waiting for Aaron Jones' name to be called so I can hit the button aggressively. I got a $5 goes Vikings, not what I need, but he's got $5 to spend for kicker. See over blue there. Team 11 is done. 9 is done. 5 is done. Here goes Cyrus Allen. Like I said, if I can nominate him, I will. I don't think I'm going to have any more. Basically got highest bid right now for $3. Well, outside of Shepard here. Aaron Jones. I bid 3. Please don't go 4. Please don't go 4. Please don't go 4. Let me be done in peace. Thank you, God. Aaron Jones for $3. And then I'll be able to nominate. I've got $1 left. See if I can get just one of these guys here for $1, and then we can get out of here. Hopefully I don't have to come back around because I can't. The only way I can bid is if I nominate. So I got Kamani Vidal, Seth McGowan, Brian Robinson, a couple of these guys. There's Jonah Coleman. He'll be off my board. I think Kamani Vidal is a little bit better than people think. As far as handcuffs, I think he's the handcuff to Hampton, not Keaton Mitchell, the way that they played that. I'll nominate Brian Robinson. Doubt. I feel like I'm going to have to sit here for another round. Yep. God damn. I'll be back here for another round. Check out some of these teams here that tank Bigsby for $1. That would have been nice on this squad. He goes. Handcuffs, Braylon Allen, Kamani Vidal. Justice Hill, I could do him for $1. That seems pretty good. He's going to be the backup. Randall, the rookie, he's going to be out for a little while, I believe, from what I saw. Also got Najee Harris. See if I can sneak Najee through. Xavier Worthy. If we can burn some of these guys' money up here to where I don't have to fight over a final roster spot, that'd be sick right now. Pacheco for $1. Some of these guys are going to be sitting here a while doing dollar nominations. I do not want to be doing that. Keenan Allen goes for $1. Let's see if I can get Najee through for $1. Got 1, 2, 3, 4 nominations away. Then the draft is paused because something screwed up on the back end. They're trying to get Xavier Worthy for $4. I guess goes to Burt. Or it goes for $5. Keenan Allen's going to go for $1. It's kind of weird there. So this is getting to the pretty boring portion of the program, as you can tell. So I'm going to try to wrap up here, and then I'll get out of here. So make not everybody have to suffer through the rest of here sitting off crappy picks. But we'll go through this team once I finish this out, and we'll be good to go. Appreciate everybody who is who's tuned in. Like I said, I know auction's a little different than the normal stuff. Usually we're doing DraftKings or Underdog. I'll get back to that, I promise. Just want to do something a little different today. Want to get this in because all these contests have started to fill up and kind of close up shop for the year. George Halani for $1. Don't really got a couple guys who got a couple bucks left, so we'll see if I can get Najee through for $1 and get out of here. I'd really appreciate it if I could. Andrews for $2. It's gonna be a real kick in the balls if I have to nominate Najee and then sit here through another round of dollar nominations. So here we go. Najee Harris, can I land the plane? 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Thank you, Jesus. All right. We are full. We are all done. I spent all my money. Don't have to worry about that. So this draft is going to be closed. I'm going to go through this team real quick, and then we will get out of here. Like I said, I appreciate everybody who's tuned in. I'll go through all my schedule stuff too. So out of the 6th hole, we got Drake May for $10, Genty and Barkley. Genty goes for 39, then Barkley goes for 33. Barkley ends up being a pretty good deal compared to some of the other guys. Henry goes for 29. Just kind of looking through some of that there. Get Luther Burden, T. Higgins, and Emeka Buka starting 3 wide receivers, so that's how I go there. Trey Tucker goes to the bench. Got Dalton Kincaid for $6. A little bit of an overspend, but he's been a guy that I've liked on all my teams. I think he's going to have a big year. Bucks kicker, Vikings defense. Jalen Warren ends up moving up to the flex. He's $11. Ends up my RB3. Josh Downs for $8. Probably a little bit of an overspend. I probably would have liked to have somebody different. Jalen Noel for $1. Malik Davis, the new backup for the Cowgirls, for $2. I get Juwan Johnson for $3 to back up Kincaid. I can kind of go back and forth on those guys. Big Cock Brock Purdy for $2. Pair him with Drake May, and then Ryan Flournoy and Khalil Shakir both going $2 bids. Feel pretty good about those. And then Aaron Jones for $3 and Najee Harris for $1. So compared to some of the other teams, I feel like mine turned out pretty good. I'm not sitting here having to go back and go through all this bidding for a lot of the time. So I want to wrap up out of here. If you haven't already, make sure to like and subscribe. Appreciate everybody who's been doing so. I will be back this week with some more underdog and best ball content. Won't bore you with the auction stuff. And then week 1, Sunday morning, week 1, Joel Worth and I will be here probably 10 a.m. Eastern time. We will do the Start Sit show for anybody else who wants their lineups taken care of, lineup questions, all that good stuff. You can drop it in the chat. We will be taking care of all that stuff. So on the Twitter machine, I need to point that right there at Jameson Rules. Appreciate everybody who's tuned in tonight. I hope you all have a great rest of your evening, and I'll catch you later on this week. Take care.